As always, welcome to the spaceship, everybody. This is Austin with Fantasy Baseball on Deck. You know, we have to be used to this at this point. Our guy, Tristan Croft, released this is a whole new list, changes up the order on all kinds of guys. And, that's quite the April Fool's joke if I've ever seen one. So what we're going to do now is a brand new updated list. As always, access my list. This is what helps me draft. This is why I finish in first, second, or third place every single year in fantasy baseball, using specifically these tools, keeping up with real-time stats. This is really important. I'm really glad that there's all this engagement. If you can see up here with this anonymous camel, hyena, and sheep, that people are accessing the sheet. They're using the cheat sheet, and I couldn't be happier about it because you will succeed at a much higher rate if you go into this with preparation. So, where are the key points? Let's go into it. Down here, Zach Wheeler dropped again to number 29. Zach Wheeler is expected to start tomorrow, meaning I guess today on it. And depending on how that goes, that'll determine whether he's the opening day starter for the Phillies, given that he was the leader in innings pitched this past year. He's a great value at number 29, given that he was originally ranked in the top 20 before he had a little bit of a shoulder inflammation. Next update, what was already the most valuable asset in all of fantasy baseball this year, being Ronald Acuna Jr., has dropped again. Nothing has changed in his expectation of playing time for this season. He's going to be out for most of the beginning of April, but is going to come back and utilize that the universal DH spot before he starts taking outfield reps. This guy is the number one pick in baseball for the last 2 seasons, and he's going to miss the better part of the first month of the year. First month of the year doesn't determine your success. Given that he has the opportunity to get hurt, and I understand that, but also, if we just go down and look at the other guys that are surrounding him, he will outscore all of these people by a significant amount. The ceiling on Ronald Acuna Jr. is of a number 1 overall pick. If you can make it happen, you might have to grab him early, but Ronald Acuna Jr. at number 48 overall is about the biggest April Fool's joke that I've ever seen. So utilize this pick, but stick to your guns. Whatever your gut feeling is, go with it. But Ronald Acuna Jr. at 48 is a heck of a value. So that's update number 2. Next, Craig Crumble just got traded to the LA Dodgers. He's expected to be the starting closer, and just about every website has him, acquiring up to 40 saves. Craig Crumble is easy to kind of disregard last season, given that he was on a bad Cubs team, got traded at the deadline to the White Sox, and acted as the setup guy for Liam Hendricks, who's the bomb.com. What I didn't understand and didn't really realize is that Craig Crumble had the same stats exactly as Josh Hader. Josh Hader, the most talented relief pitcher in all of baseball. So what I originally disregarded as not being a super important transaction actually is. Craig Crumble now being with the LA Dodgers specifically, he is going to get every bit of 40 saves this year. That's a heck of a value. Next is Jacob Degrom, who is by far and away the best pitcher in all of baseball who can't stay on the field. He has dropped down to the 84th position in fantasy baseball rankings for drafts. Man, this is the absolute wild card just about of the entire draft. If Jacob Degrom, who's going to now be out for the first month of the season, can come back and even pitch 150 innings, he is the biggest steal just in this draft, up there with Acuna. Have any faith whatsoever that he is going to come back for any amount of time. He will absolutely outscore all of the starting pitchers around him in the 80th and plus position. He won't last very long. Expect him to be drafted within the 40s, within the 50s still. But if he's somehow still around, he might be a guy that's easy to draft and then immediately fill into your injury slot. Really not have to pay a whole lot of consequences, given his upside ceiling is higher than anyone else for his position. And next is Luis Robert, dropped in value for whatever reason. He was the number 1 prospect in all of baseball 2 seasons ago. He's hit nothing but 320 plus for power and speed. He had a little bit of a health issue last season, but he came back and finished out the year super duper well. He was on both of my fantasy teams. I couldn't be happier with Luis Robert. At the 85th spot is quite the freaking steal. He's going to hit the 2 slot with the Chicago White Sox, top offenses in all of baseball. Feel extremely confident about Luis Robert. Has been someone to absolutely draft and walk away with. He's a must-have, and he dropped in value, which is great for us. Next, they have revealed that he has a small tear in his throwing shoulder, and he's actually received injections. He's gotten second opinions. Given the Cardinals situation, they're not going to rush future of their franchise play this season in a super weak division. So I would not go after Jack Flaherty given the talent that surrounds him in this position. There's plenty of pitching behind him. When he plays, he's lights out, but I just wouldn't trust his health in this certain situation. So that's a no for me on Jack Flaherty. Next is Marcelo Zuna. Being originally in the 240th ranked positions, he's going to hit 270 plus in the fifth spot in the batting order of what is one of the best offenses in baseball. So Marcelo Zuna still being, outside of the top 100 to me is kind of nuts. You're still going to have to reach for him. He's going to go early. The draft in real time is the wild, wild west. No one follows rules. So Marcelo Zuna is still a great pick, but he has upgraded in ranking, which is no good for us. But we roll with the punches. Next, we'll talk about Jordan Romano, who has been downgraded. He has no health concerns other than he has slightly sprained his ankle while walking his dog. Can't make this stuff up. This happened just recently. He is not expected to miss any time. So the great news for us is that he has a minor sprain, not expected to miss any time, nothing serious, but we can get him at a better value than we had him before just because of a minor ankle sprain. So seeing him drop down to number 154 is good. Jordan Romano at this 154 spot is a heck of a value. Very much consider, especially if you are a relief pitcher roster requirements. Next is Byron Buxton, who averaged the most home runs of any player in baseball per at bat last season. Also steals 40 plus stolen bases if he is healthy enough to play. Also got downgraded even further. Potential of being the number 1 player in his position when he is healthy for an entire year. He gets hurt every season. He was the number 1 overall pick some years ago. Twins, there's no change in health concerns. Byron Buxton, heck of a value. The fact that he dropped again is nuts. But again, these are the things we've got to pay attention to. Hopefully you're able to adjust on the fly tomorrow or whenever your baseball draft is within the next 6 days or so. The next update is Aaron Civale's great. Civale's just been nothing but consistent since he's played and really established himself in 2020. So seeing him go up in rank is makes sense. But as bad for us as people trying to cheat the system that is ESPN. So Aaron Civale moved up in the draft order. So if he's on your list, adjust accordingly. Next is Scott Barlow. Downgrades. The overall wins expected of the Kansas City Royals is going to be the same. So Scott Barlow was excellent with this last season. There's no one that's going to compete with him for saves. I think he's a great value. The fact that he dropped down the list, it's a little easier to take him. Before I thought he was a little too high to take where he was at. Scott Barlow, great resource. Next is Drew Rasmussen. He's supposed to be the number 2 starter in Tampa Bay. He's 26 years old. He was used a lot as an opener last year. Kind of one of their key bullpen guys. They're stretching him out as a starter. Again, he's 26 years old. I think he's going to be stretched out as a starting pitcher. If he is allowed to pitch up to 100 innings, going to be super duper valuable. And he also has a relief pitching tag. So if you don't have a limit of starts per week, but you are forced to have, say, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus relief pitchers, this is a great guy to slot in because he's flexible. So keep an eye on Drew Rasmussen, especially when they post the starting rotation, because Tampa Bay is going to win a lot of games. And if you have a guy in there for 5 innings plus on the Tampa Bay Rays, there's a good chance they are going to win games. And if you have a big bonus, then that's even better. Next is Joe Ryan goes up. Joe Ryan is the announced opening day setup man, or not opening day starter for the Minnesota Twins. Minnesota Twins, I think, are going to win more games this year. They're going to score a little more than they were before. But Joe Ryan is of all the pitchers in his class, he's supposed to be to have the best control, not necessarily the best stuff, but best control means that he's not getting hit as hard. He's staying in games longer. Given that he's already earned the number 1 role in in Minnesota his first year there since coming from the Tampa Bay Rays. That's a good thing to see. I think he's going to be let loose, and if he is, then he might be a great value. So someone to keep your eyeballs on. Next, Lance McCullers, rank because of his health. One of the most consistent pitchers in all of baseball, has all the run support, has a great ERA, gets lots of strikeouts, but where he's at in the draft, it's really a toss-up just because he is such a valuable guy, but at the same time, how much is he going to pitch? And also when he comes back, there's so many good starting pitchers and even relief pitchers that can fill in, like Christian Javier with the Astros. They very well could put him in the bullpen. Somebody to keep your eye on, but when he is healthy, he's lights out. Mike Clevenger moved up again. Of course, they've been reporting the entire time that this is like the best shape that he's been in his entire career. He feels completely healthy. He said that he felt like he could have pitched last season to end the year. But they kept him out, and the Padres were out of contention and all that jazz. So Mike Clevenger is a hell of a value at 216. He was even more of a value when he was around the 240 rank. So still somebody to bold and check up on. Keep your eyeballs on. Tyler Stevenson is moved down in ranking for whatever reason. I think he's going to get 500 plus at bats, being a catcher eligibility. Fills in at first base when he can, and also now that the NL has universal DH, this guy's not going to come out of the lineup. Cincinnati has traded away two of their biggest bats. Tyler Stevenson is going to be expected to be the number 4 hitter in the lineup. He's hit 280 last year. I think he's going to eclipse over 220. Over 20 home runs. Great value. If you need a catcher late, I think he's going to get a ton of at-bats. And that's great. Javier Baez is up in ranking. As expected, he was originally in the 240s. He's going to take 600 at-bats for a Detroit team that's going to be way better than they have been the last couple of years in regards of offense and pitching. I think Javier Baez has never, ever been someone that's on my lineup. I've never drafted him before when he was on the Cubs because he was always ranked way too high. But given that he's a 30 home run guy, he strikes out a lot, but he is a hacker. We know that about him at this point, given that he has second base and shortstop eligibility, 30 plus home runs on a better offensive team than the Cubs were this past year. Less distractions in Detroit. I think that Javier has a bounce back year, not to MVP status, but I think that he will be very formidable, and at the 218, good value. Next is Jared Kelnick. Kelnick's update is that he's just supposed to be awesome. He's supposed to be an MVP caliber player in the coming years. He's 22 years old for a Seattle team that's going to, I think, go to the playoffs this season. So Jared Kelnick has moved up in ranking. That sucks for us. But, another guy to keep your eyeballs on, another guy I've bolded because I think that he has the potential to be a top 20 player in his position being out. Next, Tanner Houck. Tanner Houck originally was in the 280s, right at 300. For his ranking to start the year. Tanner Houck is going to kill it. He's already expected to be in the starting rotation. He's earned a starting spot within the Red Sox rotation. This man is going to be an all-star. I have all of the faith in Tanner Houck. I've been a Tanner Houck guy since 2020. Absolutely draft this guy. If your draft going up to opening day, continue to update these rosters. He's only going to fly up the board. This is somebody that you actually absolutely have to walk away with. Next is Tony Gosselin. So Tony Gosselin, career, it's like a 2.45 ERA and always has 20 more strikeouts than he has innings pitched. He's always been hurt, meaning the last 2 years he's been hurt. He's expected to start in the LA Dodgers rotation. If he is healthy, this is going to be one of the most valuable guys in the entire draft, let alone being at 252. And he's ranked up, and that's why he's getting healthy. I have all the faith in Tony Gonsolin. He's a young guy. He doesn't have a pitch limit as long as he's healthy. He seems like he's healthy. He has a spot locked down. So Tony Gonsolin, great value for 252. Jazz Chisholm, if you play in a categories league, Jazz Chisholm was one of the best values in all of this entire draft because he is expected to steal 20 plus, 30 plus bases. He's super duper explosive. If you think of a Russell Westbrook of the NBA, think of a Jazz Chisholm for the MLB. He's just all fast twitch muscle fibers, super explosive, kind of reckless, maybe even a smaller version of Yasiel Puig. Absolutely. Keep an eye on Jazz Chisholm. He has second base and shortstop eligibility. He's going to lead off for the Marlins. Hit 20 plus home runs, and again, has all the power in the world. He's just trying to get his batting average up. So if he hits 250 plus, this is a guy that's going to be extremely good. Akil Baddoo moved down in rankings for whatever reason, which is great for us. Again, I love Akil Baddoo. He's done nothing but smack the ball for power, and he's extremely above average in the speed category. Detroit team, I think, is going to score a lot of runs this season, exceptionally more runs than they have in the last couple of years. Akil Baddoo is going to be right in the middle of that. So a lot of formats require you to have 4 outfielders or 2 utility spots on your roster. And the fact that batters are really top heavy in this draft, I think that Akil Baddoo is a very, very good value. So keep an eyeball on Akil. Next, we go to Joe Barlow. So Joe Barlow for the Texas Rangers. Texas Rangers going to win the same amount. There's no change in health for him. He's dropped in value. He did really, really well this past season. I would be happy to have Joe Barlow at the end of the year, end of the draft, just because, again, relief pitcher is kind of hard to come by this season. A lot of teams are going to pitcher by committee. So Joe Barlow, Texas is going to win a ton of games, but when they do win games, they're going to be close. Joe Barlow is going to be on the mound, closing games out, getting fantasy points for you. And the number one value in all fantasy baseball this season, Trevor Bauer, is finally up to 283. He was in the 300s to start because for some reason he is top 10 starting pitcher in all of baseball. Do not wait till 283 to pick Trevor Bauer. In all reality, Trevor Bauer is going to be drafted at number 140, number 150. So seriously, when you get to the part where you're looking at the draft of the 140 through 160 round, when you get to this part where it's like, Luis Severino or, Anthony Desclafani, and like these people that are like, they eat some innings and they've got low ERAs on okay teams. F it. Draft Trevor Bauer. Don't get cute. Everybody knows he's there. It's not a secret that Trevor Bauer is super duper underrated. ESPN refuses to throw him up on the draft boards because of political reasons. He didn't get charged with anything. He's going to play this season. And I think ESPN even labels him with an injury tag. So you're adding a top 10 pitcher in a low round that can sit on your DL. Add Trevor Bauer here. 140 through 160. Draft Trevor Bauer here. Not here. And do not wait until the 200s because he will be gone. And then you will be pondering, what the heck just happened? Because you thought you were smarter than everyone else. You watch these videos, you think you're prepared, but no. People chase names. He was a top 10 pick this last season. I think he was 11th overall. Pick Trevor Bauer early, get a hold of him, and what a heck of a bonus to your fantasy team for all of the weird reasons and circumstances. So happy April Fool's Day. Again, fantasy baseball on deck. I'm Austin, here to help you out. Best of luck in your fantasy drafts. You're going to kill it. Come prepared, study your ass off, and go get it.